Good morning, ladies. First thing I want to talk about this week is the video presentation that's due at the end of this week. Again, the details about it I've already talked about, but you need to follow the See, Judge, Act format, which is outlined in your syllabus, but it's basically looking at how the situation is now, what's the status quo, analyzing that information, pointing out some of the root problems and what we could do to solve the problem or to fix the problem or to make the problem better. It doesn't have to totally fix it. So what are things that would improve the situation for women across the globe? It's 4 to 6 minutes long. You need 4 outside sources. I do want you to look at the syllabi for it to see the rubric for it so that you see how I'm grading you. One thing I want to be clear about is that you do have to be in the video. I need to be able to see you because I am grading you on speaking skills, and therefore I have to be able to see your eye contact and your gestures and your facial expressions and all of that. I don't want you just to read from a script, and I can tell that pretty easily if you're doing that. I have said before the best way to do this is a video that you upload to YouTube. You have to make that public. You can delete it after I'm done grading it. But another thing that you might try that some people in my past classes have used and has worked really well is something called Novio. It's K-N-O-V-I-O, and I believe it's both a website and an app. And with Novio, you can have kind of a split screen with a PowerPoint on one side and you talking on the other side. As far as a visual aid goes, that isn't a requirement. You'll see it's on the rubric because a lot of people do use visual aids. But if you can't find a way to show a visual aid and yourself speaking, then I won't dock points for that. However, it is really nice to have the PowerPoint and to follow along with that. Also, you're going to watch 2 other people's videos. So I'm going to add to the module for next week a discussion forum. So basically, what I want you to do is put a link to your video both in the Dropbox and the discussion forum. The Dropbox is for me, the discussion forum is for your classmates to see, and that way they can click on your links and they can give you some feedback through the discussion. With the Dropbox part of it, that will allow me to upload a rubric and for you to see the rubric as I grade them. So please put a link to your video in both places. Also, by the following week, the 9th, there's 2 critique sheets that you'll fill out that are already there on Canvas. And then finally, I am going to open up the final exam today so that you can take that as soon as you want. I know some of you might want to work ahead. This week's reading material is some of my favorite. It talks all about Catholic nuns and their impact on America and how America wouldn't be the same without the Catholic nuns who came here and started lots of different ministries and hospitals and schools. And I think this is especially pertinent as you sit in a seat at a school run by the Sisters of Mercy. The first thing you'll read is an excerpt from a book called Sisters. The author was educated by the Sisters of Mercy like you, and although he does talk about other sisters, he focuses on the Sisters of Mercy, which is really interesting. And you'll read a little bit more about how Catholic nuns have impacted America. Unfortunately, about 8 years ago or so, there was a Vatican commission that was set up to investigate the Catholic nuns in America. And what was kind of unfortunate about it is they never really said why they were doing this, so we were only left to guess as to their motives. Some people think it's because they felt like Catholic nuns in America are too liberal. They actually said, and this is a quote, that they spent too much time taking care of the poor and not enough time teaching about Catholic doctrine, which is kind of a sad state of affairs if you ask me, because the work they're doing is the face of Jesus. They are showing people the face of Jesus. They question all sorts of orders. They sent like 20-page questionnaires, and they wanted to know all sorts of things like what do their nuns do and how much money they kind of collectively have. And it was just a whole gamut of questions that were very suspicious. And then finally, after years of investigating them, they published a report, and basically they put a priest in charge of an organization of Catholic nuns so that he could oversee their work, which I think is pretty much a slap in the face against Catholic nuns. Um, and one thing that's kind of interesting is when they did investigate, they didn't investigate any of the cloistered orders. Those were the only nuns that were left out, which kind of sent the message that they were okay if you stayed inside and just spent your time praying. Anyway, Pope Francis has still kind of called Catholic American nuns to task, but he hasn't been as heavy-handed about it. So it's kind of an interesting development in what happened with nuns. So enjoy the reading this week. I think you'll be very entertained. It's very sweet, and it's very good for you to know that this has been, a great contribution that women in the church have had. And without Catholic nuns, America would not be what it is today. Have a good week and good luck as you put an end to a lot of your classes this semester.